Hey everybody, and happy Thanksgiving, and welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over the winter weather that is expected for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. We'll also be discussing the severe weather potential for both today and as well as next week, as we may have a severe weather outbreak in our future across the south and southeast portions of the United States. We'll also be discussing who will see rain today and maybe even some flooding. Let's first begin with what's happening though across the United States this morning, which begins with this trough that we have currently that has been developing over the last 24 hours. It is already bringing a lot of rainfall to the southern plains and also through the mid-Mississippi Valley. We're also seeing some snow back over in areas like Colorado. On the other hand, for areas on the east or west coast, for the most part, it's going to stay dry for your Thanksgiving. High pressure is dominating the west half of the United States, and as well as even the mid-Atlantic regions. Only a couple of spotty showers are really in the air right now over in the East Coast. So overall, it's going to be a pretty nice Thanksgiving on both the East and West Coast. The central United States, though, it's a whole different story, as a lot of rain is expected here over the next several days. As I mentioned before, a lot of rain is ahead. Let's first look at a broad look at the United States in terms of what to expect over the next 24 to 48 hours. Beginning with the southern plains, we'll have a lot of rain down here. This will all actually shift off to the east initially, so we'll have a band of moisture that will bring some showers and maybe some storms to areas in the southeast. So Florida, South Carolina, the Carolinas, all the way through Georgia have that potential for maybe some rain late tonight into tomorrow morning. So Black Friday might be a bit wet out there. But across the southern plains, we'll still have that trough, which will bring not just snow, but it'll also bring some rainfall as well to Texas. Eventually going to Friday into Saturday, rain will really continue across much of the state of Texas, if not even some snow for the west half of the state. Eventually going to Saturday into Sunday, this trough will finally begin to move a bit more, which will obviously decrease the flooding potential by the mid to late portions of the weekend. So Sunday-ish will be the beginning really of drier weather to come. Eventually going to Sunday, that trough will race off to the north and east, so areas like the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, as well as through the mid-Atlantic and northeast regions will likely see some rain out of this heading into Sunday and maybe early Monday before everything starts to dry out a bit more in those areas. There is a low chance for severe weather today, a little marginal threat. It goes from about central Texas back through southeast Texas and even into southern Louisiana. There is a possibility for isolated damaging winds. Can't even rule out an isolated tornado or two today, so just being mindful of that. Make sure you have a way to receive alerts as well. There's a possibility for some flooding as well. We do have a slight risk right now for the potential for maybe a little bit of flash flooding across areas in the southeast portions of Texas and back into most of Louisiana as well and into southern Mississippi. So rainfall is definitely be something to monitor very closely. Then let's dive into the specifics across the southern plains, as again, we'll have a lot of rain over the next 24 to 48 hours. It begins all this afternoon, and even this morning we've seen a lot of rain already, some storms out there. Severe weather again possible going into the late portions of today, so closer to Thanksgiving dinner. Be mindful, there might be a couple of severe storms out there. Eventually going into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, going to Black Friday. So if you have any plans to get out there early for Black Friday, be mindful. Again, some showers and maybe a couple of storms still remaining across central Texas and as well as through the southeast. Again, the southeast will remain very wet, it looks like, going to tomorrow morning. And also maybe even some snow and maybe a mixture back over in West Texas into New Mexico. So also be watching for that if you're in those areas. But eventually going into Friday afternoon and evening, still a lot of rain continuing across the state of Texas. By Saturday morning, we'll have that shower and storm activity start to move a bit further off to the east and northeast. So if you're over there in North Texas through south and southeastern portions of Oklahoma and through Arkansas and Louisiana, be mindful again of maybe some showers and storms out there heading into Saturday morning. And eventually going to Saturday afternoon, this rain will move off to the north and east. Cannot rule out a couple of flurries back over in extreme northwestern portions of North Texas or even into the Panhandle going into Saturday, but no accumulations expected really beyond Friday. The amount of snow that'll come out of all of this will probably be pretty substantial actually over in New Mexico and as well as maybe far western Texas. Some areas could see upwards of maybe even a foot of snow in an isolated spot or two. Realistically though, a lot of those areas will see somewhere between about 1 to 5 inches, maybe a couple areas again getting above that threshold. Going to the southeast, again, we'll have a band of moisture kind of move off to the east over the next few days, or really over the next 24 hours. So by tomorrow morning, we'll have a lot of rainfall out there, again, across the Carolinas, back through Florida. So be mindful of this. Eventually going to the afternoon hours, a lot of this will clear out with just isolated to scattered shower activity remaining for the rest of Friday. By Saturday into Sunday, we won't see a whole lot really until late Saturday. Again, that trough will start moving off to the north and east, so some shower and storm activity will come out of that. Isolated severe weather is possible, but again, it will be a very low low threat at this time. By Sunday morning, showers and storms moving closer to the mid-Atlantic regions and into Florida, and eventually going into late Sunday will really start to dry out across those areas. Back through the Ohio Valley, again, that trough will move off to the north and east. A lot of shower and storm activity early Sunday morning, eventually going closer to about lunchtime. Again, this will be a quick moving trough really after the next 48 hours. So eventually by Sunday afternoon, this thing will be basically cleared out of these areas. Drier weather will return with maybe an isolated shower still remaining behind the trough. Overall, a lot of rainfall is expected. Again, rainfall totals could get upwards of 4, and I can rule out up to 8 inches of rain in an isolated spot or two, especially in southeast Texas. But most of Texas will see at least somewhere between half an inch to maybe 3 inches of rain. Best chance for heavy rainfall will again be in this region that was outlined by the Weather Prediction Center. So for your Thanksgiving, you're probably curious, what will my temperature be? Well, overall, it's going to be a pretty nice day, at least across the southern and southeast portions of the United States in terms of temperatures. Mild weather will be ongoing across areas in Texas back through the Ohio Valley with temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Coldest weather will remain in northern New England as well as into the northern plains. North Dakota still below freezing for high temperatures today. And eventually going to Friday, much warmer weather will actually return to some areas, but overall we're still talking about temperatures being on the mild side. Colder weather back down in Texas for Black Friday shopping because of that trough. A lot of rain, overcast skies, all going to equivalent to that really being colder temperatures overall, and maybe even some snow again over there in southeast New Mexico and West Texas. And to end off this forecast, I do want to go over that severe weather potential for next week. Heading into Tuesday, the Storm Prediction Center has outlined a slight risk of severe weather. It would include East Texas through Louisiana and Southwest Arkansas. Main concerns right now are really all modes of severe weather. Damaging winds seems to be the main threat right now, but we could see all modes of severe weather. A little brief look into next week. Again, some showers and storms possible across that area. Going into really, I would say, late Tuesday into Wednesday, a trough will really strengthen over the central portions of the United States. This could also bring the potential for a winter storm on the back end of this trough, so definitely be something to watch for very closely. This will be a very large scale trough, it looks like. Very high winds potentially. You can see the ISO bars, very close together. That would indicate probably some very high winds behind this as well. So a very strong trough could very well develop here over the central United States going into next week. It also could bring much colder weather, so stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with the latest on that situation. Make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.